Aya is a character that I see a lot of me in.
Early you.
In all of the best ways, and also all of the worst ways. And in that regard, I felt very seen. And I also felt like I despised her a little bit.
Yeah.
For the same reasons I despise myself.
Screaming into the void while you're watching all of her arcs.
Yeah, basically, I'm just like, stop being so stupid, Cassie. I mean, Aya. Welcome back to the box, the Annie chat box, where we good friends snuggle up in a teeny tiny space to talk about all things anime. We're here for episode 154 of the Annie chat box, and we have a pretty full box today, or at least more full than the last time we hung out almost a month ago. Today with me, I have the lovely, the beautiful, the charming, the steak-eating Cammy.
Hello, everybody. I'm turning into a cow from eating too much steak. Moo!
Moo! Significantly less cowbell is in the other room with Gregory von Maximus III.
Less steak. Yeah. Hi. It's been God knows how long. Since I talked about Fujiko. It's weird. Being here, and you're gonna talk about what's going on later. So
yeah,
this will be the last. This will be the last time for me for a while.
Oh, come now, friend. We will talk about the sad things soon, not during the introduction section. Speaking of introductions, I think I forgot to introduce myself. I'm hosting this episode, Cassie. I haven't hosted in so long, I've forgotten the order of doing things. Oh, it's gonna be fun. But before we go in and talk about what we're going to be talking about today, which is the lovely anime Super Gals that was requested by our beautiful patron, Suki, I wanted to very quickly discuss what's been going on over here at Annie Chatbox Studios and where we're going to be going from here. So as many of you have probably noticed, our schedule has been very in flux. We hardly ever have been putting episodes out on time, if at all. And mostly that's due to burnout. Some of us are struggling due to coronavirus issues. And also we haven't been feeling it as much as we used to. It's just a hard time. There's a lot going on in the world and we needed a break.
Yeah.
So we took one. And I apologize we didn't, communicate very quickly or efficiently that that's what we were doing. But that's basically what we were doing. And during that break, the lovely Cammy came forward and we discussed where we want the podcast to go from here. So as of this recording, this will be the last episode of Annie Chatbox. But we will be switching to Shoujo Treehouse full time starting in September. So after you listen to this episode, we're going to be taking about a 2-month break. We have one special planned for the month of July, so keep an eye out for that. But as for Annie Chatbox as a whole, it is going to be closing its curtains tonight, but we will rise like a phoenix anew in September with me and Cammy as the main hosts. And of course, Craig, Lily, and others will join occasionally as guest hosts. So that's basically what's going on in a nutshell. I don't know if either of you want to interject with anything or clarify anything that I said.
I think that you definitely said it perfectly. This is a choice that we all kind of came together to do diplomatically. I mean, y'all, I don't know if you know that Craig is like full-time also on another podcast. So this is also just giving him a break to avoid burnout. And we're definitely still going to be collaborating. Like, we love to talk with Craig about stuff. So don't let his like somber introduction make you think that we're kicking him away, because it's not the case.
It's not true at all.
No, it's totally the case of, and I discussed this with you off mic a few months, weeks, whatever time is the concept, coronavirus, Rona time. I don't know. Like you all said, it's just basically kind of been up in flux. Like this episode in question has been on the docket for the better part of, I would think, a year, maybe half a year, if that. And it's always been it's been kicked and kicked and kicked, and to a point where I feel like we're now just falling over the finish line. And Lily's not here. Lily doesn't give a shit about anime. I'm on 2 podcasts, and yes, burnout is the thing.
Yeah.
Basically, it also...
I wouldn't say Lily doesn't give a shit about anime. She just doesn't like being held to a schedule, which is fine.
Also, that
we all have our reasons.
That's also another thing. For me personally, and this is just my take. I've said this to you guys before. I don't like watching anime with a deadline.
Yeah, by obligation.
I will watch anime in my free time. Like, just as a recording, I watched both Kakushigoto and Kaguya, Love is War Season 2. And that, like, I don't have a standard or, like, a set homework timeline for it. That being said, to contradict that, I like the discussion. Talking about Fujiko and Psychopaths this year have been 2 of the best episodes that I've been a part of, and shout outs to Cammy for basically being the rock of the podcast, much akin to Paul and Save Our Progress. Cammy and Paul can basically wax poetic about anything and basically turn I don't know how I'm feeling about Banana Fish into a 2-hour recording of just fucking nonsensicalness, and Cammy inevitably crying over her son.
Yep, always.
So it's been a fun ride. But yeah, I'm sure I'll probably show back up. Zach will probably show back up again.
I think the only other thing that I do want to mention, too, that I appreciated from my conversation with you, Cassie, is that we're also, during our hiatus, going to be able to deliver to our patrons the content that we promised. So that was also another focus that we'll be working on. So we'll be working hard for you until we see you in September.
Me and Cammy are going to have a little boot camp get together probably this next coming week to just think about a bunch of material that we can start shoveling out to our patrons that deserve a lot, actually. They've been supporting us for years now, and we've only been able to deliver the bare minimum. Yeah. And for that reason, that's why we've discontinued our Patreon temporarily. We might bring it back later, but stay tuned for that. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that when me and Cammy do roll back up in our car in September and say, "Get in, losers, we're going to watch anime," we will be doing it on a bi-weekly schedule to keep ourselves from burning out and crashing and burning like we did, unfortunately, at the beginning of 2020. Yeah. It wasn't all due, of course, to our schedule or our commitment to anime. A lot of the stuff that has just happened this year is just piled on and piled on. But regardless of the state of the world, we want to be able to give you consistent content because you guys deserve it. So we will be returning to a bi-weekly schedule like when we first started the pod back in
2016. Wasn't it like the end of 2016?
Yeah, basically. You guys started half a year after Save Our Progress.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So it will be a bumpy ride, but definitely one worth taking, and we'll definitely answer any questions that you may have. At the end of this recording, we'll, give you our email and our Twitter as per usual, and you can ask us anything and we will respond. And we'll be announcing some more stuff in the near future, like how we're going to be handling seasonal check-ins, and also how we're going to be dealing with our anime reviews if we make any changes. We haven't really got to discuss that yet, but just prepare for a lot of changes, guys. Change is good, and it will be for the best for everybody involved.
Yeah, well said. And we love you, and thank you for sticking with us so far, and we're looking forward to seeing you again in July and September.
Yes. Look out for our special in July. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun, and then, of course, excitement for the rebrand, the Shoujo Treehouse rebrand.
Where
It'll be fun.
where we stand things. Oh, it's gonna be good.
Where we stand a dog in Shibuya.
Oh my god! Yes.
Speaking of Shibuya, let's go ahead and get off this sad train. Get off my espresso is depresso and go to some more fun discussion, or some fun discussion, about what we're going to be talking about today, and that's Super Gals, Kotobuki-ran, or just Super Gals. This show was requested from us by our lovely patron Suki, who loves to drag us through other beautiful animes such as Uzumade and Yamibo. Now Super Gals.
And this, you see the trend, you see the train, it finally collided and crashed, and now the podcast is on fire. The box is on fire.
I mean,
look what she did.
She's happy about it.
She's reveling in this.
You know what?
She did it.
You know what? I'll say it. I'll fucking say it even before we keep going. I think Super Gals is probably the best thing she's made us watch.
Ooh, snaps. I'd probably agree, because I do, yeah, even like the things that I've just been like, this is okay, Anyway, withholding opinions for further discussion, but snaps to that.
We will get there, but I think that Suki loves to troll, but I think this time she gave us a show that she legitimately loved, and she expected us to at least like. Whether, those results happened will be discussed soon. But first, let's go ahead and talk about the sweet deets. This show was animated and produced by Studio Pierrot. Studio Pierrot has also done such lovely little classics as Akatsuki no Yona, Tokyo Mew Mew, and for Craig, Black Clover.
Thank you. You've acknowledged my trash tastes, finally. Fun fact, I watched all of that show within 2 weeks, and that was a joy in my own right. This show, hard.
We're getting there.
We are.
You can't over it until we get past the synopsis, Craig. You can air out your grievances soon. Calm down. Sit down, sir.
I already am.
This is Craig's last hurrah of anarchy, and that's why he's doing this, because anarchy.
Okay, let's roll into the synopsis, everyone. Sporting designer clothes, makeup, and nails, Ran Kotobuki is the very picture of a trendy young Shibuya girl. But don't let that fool you. This girl comes from a family of cops, and she's ready to lay you out flat if you even think about causing trouble in her town. At least she will when she's not distracted with karaoke, shopping, and dodging her homework. Join Ran and her friends as they defend the streets of Shibuya and attempt to shop their way into the history books as the most famous gals ever. I gotta say, if the show was actually about them shopping and taking over Shibuya and defending Shibuya and becoming closer friends because of it, I probably would have liked the show a little bit better. I think this is a little bit misleading.
I mean, it's definitely well written, but yes, definitely a little bit. I wish there was more of that in the show.
I guess that's what we could talk about. I guess when it comes to the narrative, what Super Gals is about, what its entertainment value is, and how the results may vary, I think that's where we can start. Because I think Super Gals tries to be a lot of different things. And in some ways, it does a really good job. And in some ways, it swings and misses very valiantly. So where would you guys like to start? Should we start with Craig's grievance corner?
It's not even really a grievance corner so much as, I didn't even finish the show. I only got 26 episodes in, and then you were like, all right, I'm going to watch it all. And I said, I'm good. Mostly because, and this was dumb. So I shot myself in the foot with this one. I shot myself in the foot twice over. Kind of like threw the grenade down, misplaced it. I kind of like bodied myself in this case. One, I wasn't looking forward to the show. This was the epitome of homework. I knew what I was getting myself in for. So I said, oh, look, there's a dub. And much akin to my Hime, I kept watching this, even though it was bad. But I just had it on the background, so I could just kind of like do my actual job, kind of like casually watch it here and there, watch a few episodes here and there. And then that was my first mistake. This is an old-ass dub, old-ass script. There's a lot of cringe dialogue in the dub. Also, comedy is subjective, so watching chunks of episodes of this can feel like work, and the mannerisms of the characters can only take you so far. I kind of like thought about it after the fact, and I definitely thought of School Rumble when I finished it, the first chunk, or the first air quote, season of this, and I thought to myself, man, even with School Rumble, I kind of just finished it and said, I don't know if I even need to watch season 2 of that, but that's just where I'm at.
To guide you a little bit here, because I'm a bit confused. So you said that there were 2 problems. One was the dub, which that's fine. We'll talk about that in production probably, because I think that's definitely something that you should discuss. But you said that you weren't looking forward to this show from the get-go. Why is that?
Because
why?
Because Suki,
because
it's
it's not like like it was advertised to us as something that is a troll. Like, it wasn't a troll pick of hers. So I don't understand, like, just going in without watching any of it, what exactly put you off. Mm-hmm. So I guess that would be helpful for me to know where to start.
See, now here's the thing. Maybe I did expect it to be a troll, because Suki, love her to bits, right? But she, as we've discovered in the past, she has basically picked stuff that is ostensibly going to create discussion, if not tilt to discussion. With this one, I knew it was it came from a place of, like, yo, I like this way back when. And I was like, okay, I've heard of this show. I never seen jack of this show. Then I saw the episode count, and I was like, holy crap, that's a lot to talk about in one episode. Lo and behold, behind the scenes, we were going to split this into 2 parts before the, like, production timeline got fucked. But I guess in my case, I watched it, and from, like, there are merits to the show, which I did enjoy. Some characters I did like, right? But on the whole, the comedy did not really sit with me, is the thing. And that's why I kind of found it to be,
Okay. And you thought that going into the show without watching any of it?
No, I just, in the case before, I knew that there was so many episodes, and I wasn't looking forward to watching 50 plus episodes of a comedy, which I wasn't necessarily aware of the quality of the comedy. All I knew was, hey, Lucy Christian was in it. So
I see.
Maybe it was a case of I saw the episode count and got scared. So
yeah, I mean, that's a legitimate point. One thing narratively, actually, that I'd just love to bring up first off the bat, that I honestly only noticed on a rewatch, is I really like that Gals shows a side of Japanese high school life and culture that isn't often covered in anime. This is a story about very urban teenagers, and they have complex urban problems. It's not all, hey, let's walk among the cherry blossoms, talk about our first love, do our school festival, that sort of shit that I love KyoAni for, but I don't see high school girls that are sometimes failing school, may have dark pasts, maybe are getting picked up on sketchy streets in Shibuya. Like, it's very refreshing for a scenery, for a show. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
I feel like Super Gals also... I mean, the entire way I was trying to get through it, I was suffering, not because the show was bad, because I don't think Super Gals is a bad show. I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't think it's a bad show at all.
Yeah.
I think it is not a show that should be binged.
Yes.
I think that I think the way that Super Gals is meant to be enjoyed is as a light snack between other shows.
Yes.
And I think if I had done the smart thing, which was when we found out that we were going to be watching this 50-episode comedy show over a year ago, what I should have done is started watching it then. Yeah. I should have watched an episode every other week until we got to this recording. I did not do that. And that's my fault.
Yeah.
You shouldn't watch a show that's not meant to be binged and then binge it and then expect to have a good time.
I getcha. Yeah. I get that.
Did you get
that
you got
being-
burnout, right?
I got some burnout, but I will say that Super Gals does reward the people who stick through it to the end.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Characters who I found absolutely fucking frustrating and insufferable at the beginning of the show got some pretty good development throughout the show, and I got some really good payoff for a couple that I didn't know I would really be even into by the end of the show.
I've heard of this.
And I'm going to get into the things that I don't like, and I'm sure we all will, but I think that we do need to applaud its merits as well. And I think that Super Gals shines the most when it is about mostly the three main leads, Ron and Miyu and Aya, all being girls together in Shibuya, doing things together to support one another.
Yeah.
Like when Aya helped Miyu make rent, or when Aya first shows up and Ron's like, you need to be who you want to be.
Yeah.
You need to do things that you need to live in the now. Like when the show is giving me these beautiful female friendships.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I love it.
That Nakama bullshit. Yeah, I eat that shit up too, right? So
yeah, like the kizuna, the bonds between these girls are very palpable, and it's very good. It's good fucking content. The problem is, for a show that's called Super Gals, they don't really spend that much time focusing on the trio.
I would say it's like 25-75. The problem, and I joked about this with you off mic, was remember how when you talked about CorpsyAnn, you said men ruin everything? I watched CorpsyAnn, and Tusk, poor bastard, also kind of, his own problem. The men in this show, they don't need to be there. If it was literally just like the school life of these three girls and them going to Shibuya and hanging out with Mommy, and Mommy being the self-proclaimed eternal rival, maybe I would have enjoyed it a little bit more, because, man, the guys fucking break this.
Yeah. I mentioned this to Cassie when I think back on when this show was made and the audience that it was aimed for, and I do think it wasn't necessarily aimed for critical 20 thinking something.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I think I forgot to even mention this aired in spring of 2001.
See, and that's
it's an oldie.
And that's the thing. How critical can you be of a product of 20 plus years ago, and it's a comedy, no less? So it's just like, well, I don't know. I mean...
Well, and
I think... Go ahead.
Here's my concession with the guys. I'll just communicate this to you, Craig, because I mentioned it to Cassie. So I'm thinking that this show is aimed for, like, 13-year-old girls.
Exactly.
If I was 13 watching this, I would have been drawn in because of romances, because I was a stupid 13-year-old girl.
Exactly.
The problem is that even, like, as I watched this as 19, most of the male characters suck, and they just don't execute the romance as well.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but I guess I can see where they were trying to go. But yeah, like Cassie said, there are things that it tries to deliver on that it fails in. I would say the romance aspect and the guys are definitely one of those drops.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, when it comes to the comedy aspect, I think that Super Gals, at least for me personally, was the definition of a mixed bag. Like, you open up your dictionary, you pop open to page mixed bag, it's got Super Gals plastered all over it. Because there are some jokes that I legitimately laughed at in this show. I actually really liked all of the stupid stories that Ron came up with for not doing her homework.
Yes!
I thought that was funny. And every time it got more and more out of hand. I also really liked the relationship between Ron and her teacher. The teacher actually ended up being like the cutest fucking character to me by the end. Because he just cares so much about his students. He's not even an asshole. He just wants her to get her homework done.
I recall the sports festival towards the back half of season 1, and he's basically tricked her into basically helping the class win, because she's such a good athlete, if memory serves.
I think there was one joke I literally had to pause because I was laughing so hard I almost started crying. And that was the Christmas episode where Miyu and Yamato, like, threw each other their gifts, and it was super dramatic, and then as they got them, she fell to her knees, and then it rolled credit roll really quickly, and I was like, that is fucking comedy gold. Like, so, like, yeah, like, there are parts of the show that are legitimately funny, and then there were other parts that weren't funny.
Yeah.
And then they kept doing them.
Yeah.
Like, all of the scenes with the junior detectives, that stupid
You
thing where
betcha.
Saya would pretend that she was dying. Like,
Yeah.
I just...
That's a good point that you bring up, which is that a lot of the bad jokes in this show, they just don't know when to stop kicking the dead horse. And unfortunately, all of the ones that they keep kicking at, they keep repeating, are like the bad ones.
It's like it's a bad punchline, and it's the shtick. Like the three other self-proclaimed rivals.
Oh yeah,
is a real bad joke. An entire one of the guys is a complete cringe. It's very cringe. I don't like that. I use that word very loosely with that guy, but no.
Are you talking about Tatsukichi?
Yeah, you have to be talking about Tatsukichi.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure we'll talk about him when we get to characters, because his entire fucking character is just a problem.
Yeah.
I do think that he brings some interesting things to the table, which we can talk about then. But yeah, his character is a huge, huge glaring problem, not just in Super Gals, but in anime in general.
Yeah. That same problem, I would say, actually does go with the three, basically the three tan gals. Similar issue, and yeah, just we'll leave it at that. But yeah, there are issues that come up frequently, and it's things that you don't enjoy, like bad jokes. Not only the junior detectives, Cassie, you can feel me on this with the purple-haired girl with like the glasses.
Already forgot her name because she's pointless. Don't like her.
Does she show up in season 2?
Yeah,
she shows up in the second half. Basically, there's this other character whose name I have forgotten and literally do not care enough to look up. And she basically is just kind of like the... I don't know how to put this. She's like the wolf trying to outsmart the woodrunner. Like...
Yeah.
It's just, or however you say that. Is it Woodrunner? Is that the name of the bird?
Wile E. Coyote and the...
Roadrunner.
Yeah,
the Roadrunner.
That's it.
Yeah,
like, it's basically that. She's trying to ruin Ron, and she comes up with these stupid plans, and they always fail. And normally result in either her getting physically injured or
that sounds about right.
Covered in garbage, or etc.
That sounds about right.
It's just not a funny joke. She's a lot of the comedy in the second half of the show, and it's just unfortunate.
It's a bad shtick.
Yeah. Another thing that I did like, I already said that I like some of the refreshing setting, but again, when the show is not doing its shtick that we all hate, I do like the core friendship of Aya, Miyu, and Ron a lot. I think that's a very strong part of the show, and I totally agree with you. If they could have focused on it, would have been probably a lot better. But I like the friendship. And I also like, the show doesn't do this too much, but I do like it when it's like not all gals are easy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That stuff
or
is
just
good.
The fact that, like, it explores Gaodu culture at all.
Yeah.
I like that the girls change their nails, like every other episode.
Yes.
I like that they change up their outfits. I wanted an episode where they went fucking shopping.
And did all the, like, outfit trying on montage.
So they didn't they didn't do that.
They did really. A couple of times, but not enough for me to be happy about it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I wanted more than just Ron being like, Tatsukichi, buy me this fucking bag. Buy me these boots. It's like, bitch, buy them yourself and let me see you wear them. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Would have been super cute. Yeah, so, I mean, those are really good things. We talked about how the guys are simps. That's all in my notes. And then
some of them are simps. Some of them are just asses.
That's a good point. Oh, fuck one of them in particular. I hate him.
Fuck that guy.
Again, this show would have been better if it just dealt with the three girls, their high school life, and literally them just chilling in Shibuya, eating McDonald's, doing karaoke, going shopping. Like, the show has arcs and chunks of episodes dedicated to melodrama dealing with an asshole. And I'm like, I don't like this. This guy, and Cass, I remember vividly, like, when watching it, was like, I hate this. Why? Aya, you dumb.
I will get on my soapbox when we get into characters, because I need to step on my soapbox about Aya, because she was like my fave, and then she like plummeted very quickly into last place, and most of it isn't because of her; it's because of how the story handled her and her arcs. Because there's nothing wrong with Aya; she's a good girl. It's just the way the story did her dirty. And we'll get there. But do you guys have any more fun things that you liked or things that you hated about, like, the narrative structure, the story of the week structure, so on and so forth?
So I don't know if this show was, if the manga was for Coma or not, but there were so many weird, like, eccentricities in this show, like the ironclad rules for gals, like the vocabulary, which I thought it was cute. But then also the thing that bamboozled me, and I wondered if this is why it was for Coma, is just the random little dance breaks between
the power dance,
like, which like I on rewatch I was like, oh no wonder Cassie said this show was loud, because like every 5 minutes
it's always in your face, it's blaring.
Do not watch this show if you have a headache. I opened Super Gals to watch episode 1 when I was laying in bed feeling sick with a massive headache, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch this funny little comedy. And I literally had to turn it off 5 minutes in because my head felt like it was being jackhammered by both the opening and how fucking much Ron likes to scream at everything.
Or just like definitely don't watch this if you have a headache. Don't put it at like full volume. You don't need to. Just for
yeah
for how loud it
is. Same with English, even though it's Lucy Christian. Nah.
I guess I just never fully understood why they did the little dance bits in between, and so I'm like, was this a weird like way that they didn't know how to split for Coma, or was it just like, I don't know why it was there.
Or wasn't Tatsukichi like the self-proclaimed power master? So like, that's the dance, right?
Yeah, but they did the dance from the beginning of the show, like to do in-betweens, and I'm just like, why did they do that? But it's just weird eccentricities of it being like a 2001 crazy, loud, goofy show, I guess. And so that makes it unique, I guess. I didn't really love the dancing. I do like the little gal vocab. I thought that was cute. So,
yeah.
Again, it gets its own identity, right? I mean,
yeah.
So.
Yeah. But other than that, I think I'm good.
Yas, queen. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and scooch into characters, because I feel like this is going to be a big old section of the podcast, because there is a huge cast of characters, and I feel like we're going to have to at least say a small blurb about at least most of them. Yeah. Or half of them. I don't know.
I liked to, and I wrote in my notes, there are facets of characters I like, sans the guys. But there's an asterisk with a lot of them. There's always a but with with like the girls even. And I'm like, and that's kind of the problem, sans Miyu and Mami, why I have the character in my icon such as it is. I'm like, I couldn't really like, I wanted to like Ron more than I wound up liking Ron. There's facets of all the characters I like, but also they kind of have like this weird, I like you, but also at the same time, I gotta think. So.
How about we start with the usual, like who we have in our icons, and then we can just go
dissect
through the cast one by one. So Craig, you picked the Hachi statue.
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
you want to talk a little? You want to talk a little bit about that? I guess.
So I again, I was torn between Miyu and Mami, but listen, I know that everyone loves those two girls because they're good. I love Mami's bit, but the Hachiko statue, I just thought of the episode where Zach was on with My Roommate is a Cat, and he picked a can of tuna. And I thought to myself, what grounds our characters in this space? Shibuya, Hachiko statue. They even hang around the statue. If I remember right, it's in the opening. So
it is. He does the little para with them at the end of the opening.
See, what better inanimate object to represent in this show than Shibuya itself and Shibuya's mascot, the Hachi statue. Hachi statue? I don't know. I may be butchering it, but still, Shibuya's the character all in and of itself.
That's deep, man.
Yeah.
Damn.
Shibuya culture. So there you go. Damn.
How about you talk to us about our girl Miyu?
Oh my god, I love Miyu. So, to clarify, this is the second time that I've watched Gals, because I won it for losing an IC that I will never get over. Anyway, so I got the box set for free. And, the first time I watched it, Miyu was my favorite character, undisputedly again. I love the shit out of Miyu. I liked her immediately at first because she's just really cute. She wears a lot of pink. She talks in, like, third person to be cute, and it's kind of weird, but I'm so endeared to her. She has a soft little pleasant voice, and she is bubbly and friendly, and she's also a head over heels romantic, which, while really silly, is a quality that I can relate to having as a teen, and like even now I am also a romantic sap, so I was just like, aw, cute sweet girl. And then yeah, and her past and the development that she goes through, particularly in the second half for me, have always been the most fascinating and heartfelt, like, character arc in the show. I always got really excited when I got to see a Miyu-centric episode, or just to, like, have her give little one-liners in the background. Particularly something that she goes through in the second half, which Cassie has more, like, awareness of, but that involves her family life and where she's living. Like, I think the first time I watched that, the show actually made me cry because it reminded me of certain struggles that one of my best friends has dealt with. So, again, like, Miyu is my favorite. I love her a lot. And I'd love to hear, actually, Cassie's opinions on Miyu as well, because I know that you were a little bit interested in her past at first when we watched the show.
Yeah, so Miyu, I was totally prepared to hate. Like, from the moment she showed up, because I was like, oh no, we've got the dumb blonde one. I'm gonna be so annoyed with this fucking bitch. And then I got the wool pulled out from underneath me because she's honestly the most intelligent and most emotionally intelligent of the entire cast.
Agreed.
Baby!
And it's interesting because they give it to you in pieces, which is something that Super Gals does not do. And does not do very well. Normally they shove stuff in your face as quickly as they can.
Yeah.
But I'd argue that Miyu, and to an extent Mami when we get to her, they do a really good job of sprinkling what makes them who they are throughout the whole show. So then when you have this crescendo at the end of the show, it feels deserved. And I could definitely say the same for Mami as I could for Miyu, in that they are probably the most well-developed characters in the entire cast. And even when they're not the centerpiece, Miyu, for example, is always looking out for Aya. She's always saying, oh, you know, I don't think, like, even when Ron's like, oh, she's fine, Miyu's like, don't think so. She's very emotionally available to her friends, but she's also not so willing to lean on them herself. So she's kind of a contradiction in that way. And I think she has to learn to work with that contradiction as the show goes on. And I really, really appreciated her character.
Yeah, she's a good girl. She's a very good girl.
She's very good.
I'm glad that you said emotionally intelligent, too, because that's definitely something that, again, I only think I noticed on a second watch. And, yeah, it's good stuff, especially when you have Ron at the other end of the spectrum for that, so.
I do like that Ron is oftentimes her, like, stopgate, though. Like, when Miyu is about to go over the edge, it's always Ron who shows up to help. Or like if I were to rewatch Supergals, there's a scene that happens really early on, so I don't think it would be much of a spoiler, but where Miyu has like a stalker.
Oh, right.
And he corners her in the schoolyard and grabs her arm. And Ron jumps out of a fucking 2-story building to go and help her friend. And my first read on this was, oh, she's going to help Miyu because Miyu is helpless. No, she jumped down because Miyu would probably kill a bitch if left alone.
Yes, it's very true. Oh, shit.
It's like on rewatch, you realize what their dynamic is, that Ron is very much trying to protect Miyu from relapsing.
Very true.
Into the way she used to handle her problems. Supergals has some really good emotional depth when you can actually dig through all the garbage.
Exactly. And I think you're right that most of it comes through Miyu and Mommy, and I'm very excited to hear about Mommy too.
Do you have anything for Miyu, Craig?
It's interesting in the fact that both dub and sub, she speaks in third person. It worked. It sometimes worked for me, but oftentimes not. Cass, I talked about this with you before, and I don't know if this is a product of the time, and it's not creepy, but I found it. I found it a little eyebrow raising that she's dating a cop, like she's a teen, and give or take, you're like the guy's. And I said this to that extent too. She's dating Ron's older brother Yamato. And the boy's a Boy Scout ostensibly, so he's not gonna abuse his power in that way. That was the only thing that of her character outside of her being a badass bitch at times. I was like, you're dating a cop. The cop's in his maybe early 20s. You're like 16. Age. But it was funny because I was watching episodes of Fruits Basket around the time of watching that and seeing that. I'm like, Kureno and Uitani, Yamato and Miyu? Huh.
Yeah, it's a thing that I think people will have different ranges on. I didn't mind it too much. I tend to be a little more flexible with age gap in anime depending on how it's portrayed.
Yeah.
And I think in the case with Miyu and Yamato, like you said, Yamato is not, he's such a beta Boy Scout, he's not going to do anything.
Basically.
And like, yeah, it is kind of like, ooh, this is a cop, but I think there's a couple different things. And you look at the cultural connotation in Japan, you look at the time it was made, and the fact that I think in many ways, because her life has been so chaotic, so unpredictable, I feel like Miyu really gravitates a bit to a little bit of stability in her life.
Yeah, she needs
and she kind of clings to it. Yeah.
She needs both Ron and Yamato kind of provide that, right? As Cass was saying, Ron is basically the stopgate. And then Yamato's kind of like, yo, I'm here to...
He's a support.
Yeah, they're both supports. They both try and keep her on the straight and narrow, essentially, from kind of like kicking ass and taking names with no remorse, so...
Yeah.
I think the other thing that makes me feel not so icky about it is that typically when it comes to age gaps, in anime or out of anime, just in real life as well, the thing that makes me feel icky when there's a big age gap is when the person who is older has some sort of power or influence over the person that they are dating.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case in Supergals.
Yeah.
One, because there are times where he does treat her like a child, and in those moments I do get slightly annoyed. But when Miyu's having life issues, he lets her solve them by herself. Like, he's there as a support. He says, I mean, if you need me, you can come live with us for a little bit, but I'm going to help you find an apartment so that you can live on your own and you can take care of you and you can pay your rent. Yeah. He doesn't offer to like shower her and gives her luxury or whatever. The only thing he is drowning her in is stability, and that's healthy. So I can't really look at it and be like, this is gross, when really the only thing that makes it icky is the age gap. It's just a number in this case specifically. Big ol' asterisk next to it. But that's just how I feel about it.
I mean,
personally.
I definitely agree with you completely on that. Especially in the second half, it really hammers home that whole thing that he's like, look, I understand these are your problems and I respect that, and I respect that you want to solve them yourself and work through it. Like, he's always really good about that. And I do think, Craig, you'd get a little more, I think, depth in how their relationship works in the second half.
Right.
But again, the initial hair raise, yeah, I totally get it. I definitely totally get it. But also, in the realm of all the relationships in this show, they're definitely one of my favorite ones.
It's honestly the most wholesome and probably good for each other relationship out of all of our. Well, okay, now that. Yeah, exactly. Yes. That is the point of contention. I didn't get that far. Cass has told me about this.
Oh, they're so good.
So
anyway.
They're very good.
The other two in the first half that I've seen,
yes.
Yamato and Miyu, pretty cute.
Yeah.
Ron Tatsukichi?
No.
Big old problem.
No.
Big old problem.
Son, you don't need that.
Aya and Otahata? Oh boy. We'll get there. But I do want to take a couple minutes before we get into those to talk about my beautiful Mommy Rin. I always liked Mommy. I thought she was always going to be a side character who showed up for a couple of gags and left. To be fair, I always loved her gags. Mm-hmm. I always found them funny. I thought it was funny that she always lost to Ron, and it was just kind of, I'll get you next time, Gadget.
Yeah.
I loved that interaction. I also really liked when, to be very vague, there's an episode where Miyu is being hazed by another character who Mommy is very much intertangled with, and Mommy's like, listen, you were in the wrong here. You need to apologize. You need to fix this. Even though she is in direct rivalry to Miyu and Ron. So I really think from a very early on point, you see that Mommy isn't a bad person.
Mm-mm.
She's just very competitive. And that's fine. I love that in a girl. I want her to step on me with those heels. Come on, baby. But in the second half is where Mommy really gets to shine.
Yeah.
Because one, they do a really good thing with her and Ron where the rivalry is less bitter and more just fun.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot. They also introduced a love interest for her that starts out kind of unfortunate, but grows into one of the most, wholesome and beautiful moments of character development for both Mommy and Yuya.
Yeah.
And also you get to understand, why, she wants to hide who she really is, where those moments of her confidence are shattered, where her confidence is shattered, where those feelings are coming from, and how her problems are very different from everybody else's. But how she's able to make a good group of friends and also get a really good relationship out of learning to resolve her own self-conflict. And I think that she, next to Miyu, is one of the best developed characters in the show. She actually becomes a person instead of just a gag. She graduates from being a gag to being a beautiful woman. Unlike Tatsukichi, who starts as a gag and ends as a gag. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to say about Mommy Dean. I love her character design. I love how very, flip a switch she is. She could be so sweet one minute and then she could throw you across the room the next. I love her crazy temper. I love that she's the best at everything. I love how very extra she is. Yeah. She's great.
She is, also, she's hanging out with, the Durarara kids, because she's repping Ikebukuro, which is really cool.
Yeah!
So good shit. That's another thing I learned from the show, was I didn't know what they meant when they said Bukuro gals, and then Get was like, no, it's Ikebukuro, Durarara. And I was like, oh my god! Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think for me, Mommy was really, the most pleasant surprise of the entire show. I had no anticipation that, like you said, Cassie, she would move from just being a side gag to a really pleasant member of the cast. And with Miyu episodes in the second half, I would be like, oh shit, yay, we're getting another Mommy Rin episode. This is awesome. And yeah, I love her relationship with Yuya for a lot of reasons, but I also just love that it's look at this gem that you were ignoring for so long because you were looking at Ron, and then it's just better girls right there, honey.
You can simp better. You can simp better.
Yeah, really though. So I love them. Their relationship was one of those things that, I will miss, when I finished the show, I was like, okay, I'll miss these characters.
Mm.
And I'll miss Miyu, I'll miss Yamato, I'll miss Yuya and Mami. And I mean, Mami not only basically carries herself, but she makes Yuya so much of a better character too, so.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is the thing, which it sounds like season 2 is so much better in a lot of regards.
I would agree in some aspects and then not in others. I think that for Miyu and for Mami,
yes,
the second half is better because it really gives you that closure of their characters and coming to terms with their situations.
Yeah.
But then you also get the stupid pigtail girl running around causing stupid antics and making the show 10 times worse.
Okay, so it's a double-edged sword.
It's a big old mixed bag.
Like Cassie said, I think the big thing is that you do get payoff for long watching, and you get the payoff in the second half.
Yeah.
You know.
It's interesting, though, because when I talked about my trepidations with the show, the episode count, and kind of like the comedy not necessarily hitting, even as, in season 1, as a gag, her shtick, her bit, Mami as a character in season 1 worked for me. Even in the English dub. The fact that her father's like, you will be trained, you should train in X, Y, Z to be the best that no one ever was. Like, to train them is my cause. And she's like, yes, father, I will do this. And then she does 100 repetitions of the thing. And I'm like, okay, that works. This is her rivalry, air quotes, that kind of comes off bitter, even to me, in the early, like, even towards the tail end of the first season. I could tell that they were like, all right, you know what? They're going to stop trying to be bitches towards each other. They're going to actually become, like, friends in the long term, which is good. That shows growth in the characters, unlike some other characters that seem like they're archetypes of themselves and need to stop talking.
I feel that. It's good shit.
I feel like next what we should do is we should talk about Ron, because she's the main character. Then we should talk about Aya to close up the girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we should talk about Tatsukichi. Then we should talk about Otahata. Save the best for last. And then we can, sprinkle a couple things towards the end, but this is already starting to run long.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about Ron, guys.
Okay.
You like her? You hate her? You indifferent? How you feel?
I like her overall, but I'm also with Craig that I wish I liked her more. There are some flaws of hers that I actually enjoy, just because I kind of enjoy seeing a flawed girl, or like not the perfect, pretty, like Dokyun moe girl. I kind of like it sometimes when she's like starving on top of like of Hachi, and she's like, "What boy can I get to buy me food? I just want food." And I'm like, "Yes, trash bin, you do that."
It's to that point where I enjoy it, but also. Girl is, like, very, at times, she, like, fights for her friends, the power of friendship, and...
Right, and then there's that, yeah.
Ironclad rule for gals and bullshit. I'm like, alright, knock on my bullshit, let's go. And then she's kind of just the archetype of, I'm an airhead, what did you say? What? Comedy here, gag here, and I'm like, 2000s anime, I get it, yep, okay.
She's also, I think, one of her biggest flaws for me that I really don't like. And again, kind of like Cassie said. Cassie said Miyu is emotionally intelligent. Ron is fucking deft at understanding, like, how people work.
You like him? Why don't you just go tell him?
Yeah, and then she fucking tells, like, ooh. When I rewatched that part, I was like, no, you do not do that. I don't care how confident you are. You don't breach someone's privacy that way.
Yeah, like, you don't. She oversteps her bounds in a lot. Like, I would say it comes from a good place, but she gets in her own way a lot of the time, and that's kind of the problem. As the lead, she's loud. She laughs, and she's like, "Oh, Tatsukichi, buy me XY thing. Also, I'm gonna solve your problems for you. Miyu, oh, it's okay." And I'm like, please just stop.
Yeah, she to me, she has her good points, but I do wish I liked her more. I wish that we got to see more of her good points more. But I think for me, my biggest issue, she really doesn't understand people. Like, the fact that she didn't even fucking understand why Tatsukichi was upset around, like, Christmas time. And then he was like, can you tell me this one thing? And she's like, literally, I don't know how to say this. It's just because. What's wrong with that? And I was like, can you fucking, like, try to understand people, please?
Lord.
But, yeah.
I think, for me, Ron... She's two things in my mind. She's an inspirational feminist.
Yes.
And she's a trash goblin.
Yes!
And I like her more often when she's being an inspirational feminist than when she's being a trash goblin.
Yes.
There are moments where she's being a trash goblin that I like. I like that she comes up with stupid stories for why she doesn't do her homework. I like that every time she's hungry, she hangs out on the Hachi statue and cries. I like those things.
Yeah.
I don't like that she forces people constantly to do things for her. I don't like that she constantly, like, bugs Aya to help her with her studies only when it's convenient to her.
Right.
I don't like that she's consistently making, you know, Yuya buy her shit. Without listening to his feelings or what's going on with him. I hate how she... Yeah, gross. I hate that she constantly is treating Tatsukichi as if he's just an accessory.
Yeah.
I don't like her most of the time, but there are times where she's really good and says really good things, and most of those times, it's when she's with her girls.
Yeah.
When she's rolling with the fucking squad.
Yeah.
That's when she's at her best. And even then, she's not always perfect. Yeah. And you know what? That's fine. Nobody's perfect, but you can at least try and understand why your friend is upset. Yeah. You can at least try and not turn a blind eye when it's just not convenient for you.
Yeah.
Like, it's very hard for me to consistently like her, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess the one other thing that I guess on rewatch I appreciated is how much she's, like, ACAB to her family. I think that's funny. And I'm like, good shit. But, yeah, she just, like... I don't know. She's there. I don't hate her, but I wish I could love her more than I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Aya?
God.
Can I start?
Of course you can.
How do you feel?
Okay. Aya is a character that I see a lot of me in.
Early you?
In all of the best ways, and also all of the worst ways. And in that regard, I felt very seen. And I also felt like I despised her a little bit for the same reasons I despise myself.
Screaming into the void while you're watching all of her arcs.
Yeah, basically, I'm just like, stop being so stupid, Cassie. I mean, Aya. But yeah, so Aya, I immediately kind of was drawn to because when I was in high school, I was the quiet, quote-unquote, smart kid, even though I spent most of my breaks studying in the bathroom, studying at home, because it was the only thing I was fucking good at. I wasn't good at making friends. I was basically by myself most of high school. And I also fell for shitty boys who were really pretty but were not emotionally available. But the problem is that Aya has a lot of really good potential, especially in the second half where she basically is put in a situation where a guy is telling her it's either, you know, your friends or me. And she's like, well, fuck you. My friends are more important to me. Go take a fucking walk.
Yes.
And they do some good stuff with her. But then almost everything else is centered around this bloke, Otahata. And this fucking awful human being. Yeah. And all he does is give her really, really, like, cold comments. And she's expected to stew in them and learn, quote unquote. And I hate that the show tries to treat Otahata as if he's doing her a favor when he's just honestly being a fucking douchebag.
Yeah.
And
I don't like how they painted their relationship.
No.
I don't like that there's no closure. I don't like that Aya spends most of the show crying. I don't like that most of the show, she is being defined by the man she's in love with. Yeah. I hate that.
And I'm not excusing it when I say this, but is that writing a product of its time? There have always been the aloof assholes, the air quote, bad boys, that women, air quote, like, but it's...
But Otahata isn't a bad boy. He's just...
an asshole.
Yeah,
He's just a jerk.
Otahata's a piece of shit. I definitely do think, Craig, that in handling her arc, they are trying to appeal to like the worst of the shoujo tropes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there is plenty of shoujo manga you could read with like fuckheads and the girls just go for it. And I agree. Like I just really, really wanted to like I Am More. I wish the story didn't focus so much on her just like fucking
being
waffling.
Yeah, waffling on Otahata. Like that's what annoyed me. And it even just in like certain situations, the writing usually treated her as she'd take like one step forward, but then even if it was just for an episode, she'd take like 3 steps back and then get back to the same place. And I was like, can you please be consistent with her and like make us feel rewarded for her development? Because there were those moments that were really nice. And I just wish that we got a little more of that and it felt natural. And I just
and again, I'm looking at this as a now practically 33-year-old guy looking at this this fictional character, and the last episode, she goes up to Otahata and is like, "I'll stay."
You mean the last episode you watched?
Yeah, basically, like towards the tail end of season 1, and he's like, "I may hurt you," and she's like, "No, it's okay. I'll stay with you." And I'm like, "Oh my." Okay, cool.
And then
dumbass.
Later he's super like cold and mean to her, and she's like,
ghosts her.
"You're being so cold and mean to me," and he's like, "Well, I warned you that could happen.
Yeah,
it's your fault."
Yeah, he ghosts her, and I'm like, that's not.
Otahata sucks.
He does.
He is a terrible person. He likes to fuck with people. He does something towards the end of the show that I still don't fucking understand. Maybe we could have a very brief spoiler room about it. Maybe.
Okay.
Because it's the thing that infuriated me the most about this show. But there's this stupid tension that's put between fucking Aya and Ron.
I hate it.
I do recall you saying this.
There's a bunch of stupidity, and I feel like he's just one of those people who likes to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
They try to imply that he's, like, softening up towards the end of the show, but I don't buy it.
It's forced melodrama for the sake of melodrama.
He's also not worth it, very much in the ways that we shouldn't have
There's no payoff!
Does
None!
Yuya ever call him out on his bullshit?
Yes!
Thank you.
No, Craig, seriously, my biggest loss in you not watching the second half is because you, like, hated Yuya, and I'm like, Yuya's not bad, Yuya's a good boy!
Good. Especially because he looks back on himself in the first half, and he's like, wow, this was stupid. Like, he's a good guy!
Exactly. That was in season 1, I cannot get behind Yuya
You
at
hated
all.
him, yeah.
Because he literally pines for this woman and will fight Tatsukichi at every given angle to say, "No, you are not good enough for this woman. I am good for this woman. I will prove that I am worthy because I am a man. I am a man." And I'm like, "Good, will you just stop, please?" And it's good that he finds another for his attention.
Yeah. I mean, I do get that. I definitely don't like how Yuya was, like, aggro to Tatsukichi at first, but, like, thankfully, again, I think that he... Especially compared to Otahata and Tatsukichi. Like, Yuya's a good boy.
Again, it feels like really the best parts, in my opinion, of season 1 were Miyu. And the best parts of season 2 is Yuya and Mami and more Miyu.
I mean, I can't disagree right there.
There you go.
I want to hear more but I like how I'm the person that's black, and I'm like, hey, tell me your complicated feelings about Tatsukichi. Let's go.
Me? You want me to go?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I immediately,
Cringe.
when he showed up, took some screenshots and sent them to Rin.
Yep.
Because I was like, I am very uncomfortable. Are you uncomfortable? Because I need a black person to tell me they're uncomfortable. I need this. He's a dark-skinned character. One of the only dark-skinned characters outside of the Tangarus who also have a really bad blackface joke.
Yeah.
But he is constantly compared to a monkey. He looks like a monkey. His little para dances in the middle of the episodes when he have one are also monkeys with bananas.
Yeah.
He is a walking monkey joke. And it's not a good look. It's not a good joke.
Nope.
I don't feel they did that with the intention of being insufferable, but every time I saw him, every time he had that imp face, every time they made a comment about how his senses were heightened because he was like a fucking monkey, I was so pissed off!
I was about to bring up the seventh wonder of the world. His superpowers make him so much more Tatsuki Black. And I'm like, just stop, please. Just stop, please. Just stop, please. Just stop, please. Just stop. I don't think you need to point out his... Okay.
There is an episode where there is literally a monkey on the loose and Ron confuses the monkey for Tatsukichi.
Oh my god. Oh god. And, it's a thing where I don't feel like it's specifically... I don't feel like it's specifically the creators trying to be like, yeah, God, we hate black people so much, we're gonna make this stereotype. But it shows you, yes, Japan is racist, and these caricatures are microaggressions, just existent microaggressions. Because,
yeah,
that's just it. Like, it's the unfortunate truth. I love anime, I love a lot of things about Japan, but just like a lot of other places, yeah, they're racist. Like, it's just the thing.
It's a racist joke.
Yeah.
And people will look at you and say, it's just a joke, guys. It's a bad joke. Mm-hmm. It's not funny. Mm-hmm. It's not fucking funny.
Yeah, it's really not, and the greater unfortunate part is, even if there was that surface level racist joke, it's like, oh, well, maybe, they'd attempt to make them an actual character a la Run with the Wind, but they don't. There is so much narrative disrespect to Tatsukichi. Like, he's just a huge waste, and it would have been a lot better if he didn't exist, like, at all.
I just wish that he was a good foil to Ron in some regards.
Yeah, but he's just...
he's just an idiot, and she's kind of a selfish brat, and they don't balance each other out at all as a couple, and it aggravated me, even in season 1. And cool, more comedy. That's not comedy that works for me. Cool, I guess.
I did like that he got a big bow, and that's how he asked her out. I thought that was cute, but honestly, most of the time, I was infuriated every time I saw him, because they didn't really do anything with him.
Exactly!
Until almost right at the end when he starts being like, could you actually treat me like a boyfriend and not like one of your like fucking accessories to mooch food off of? And she's like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Why are you so mad? And then when he finally comes back and apologizes and tries to like mend things, she's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I already forgot all about it. Hardy har har. I didn't learn a damn thing. And I'm like, oh,
that's what I hated so much. It's like, damn, it would have been nice if maybe at least there was some semblance of something that he could have brought to the table, even though he's already just such a disrespectful existence, but they just don't even go that far. And they waste time on that melodrama in the second half where you think, hey, maybe Ron will actually fucking learn something. Maybe there will be development. And they just fucking, nope. Bye. Yeeted it into the sky. Goodbye.
Goddamn.
I'm going to do some very quick fire character mentions because I feel like we really do need to move on. I did not like the Junior Detective Trio. Nope. Didn't like any of them.
You betcha.
I thought that Ron's parents were funny. Mm-hmm. I thought her dad was funny. I love that her mom randomly would come on screen with a flute.
Shoutouts to the flute. I didn't get, like, that was her... The over-doting father is cute. I like how they're dynamic in the fact that the entire family is cops, and she's the one rebelling against all of it. So good on Ron for that, I guess.
I like Nakatich.
That was his name.
I thought he's soft and good. I liked some of their friends. Mm-hmm. There was a really cute story with one of her side friends that an entire episode is dedicated to, and I thought that was nice and soft and a good palate cleanser.
Mm.
The cafe owner? I like the cafe owner.
Toa, yeah, she was pretty good too. Odaiba Cop was kind of fun. Mm-hmm. I don't like that whenever he was typically around, Saya was, so it was a mixed
Oh,
bag.
right, Odaiba Cop, the TV actor, right? The drama guy.
Yeah, he gets a couple of actual episodes in the latter half where, like, not as Odaiba Cop, but as an actual, like, character and actor.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's pretty interesting. Can you guys think of anybody else you want to shout out real quick before we move on to production?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, let's move on through. Do we have a Craig's Credit Corner today?
The final corner.
Craig's Credit Corner.
I expected you both to cry with that, but...
I will later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Director, Suino Kobayashi directed the 12 Kingdoms, and the Naruto movie where Naruto married Hinata. So there's that.
Yeah.
Writer is Masashi Kubota. Sorry. Did the screenplay for the TV show Pandora Hearts. Character design, Yuko Kusumoto did the character designs for Yona of the Dawn. And music, Masumi Ito did the music for Dragon Maid. This is based on a comic by Mihona Fuji and Ribbon Magazine. I did not vet to see. I guess I really should have did research to see if this is a 4 / I think this was drawn or written and illustrated by a female. So I definitely recall.
So, yeah.
I definitely recall cast showing screenshots and panels, and I think I like the manga art a little bit more than the anime.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree.
that's all I got in terms of production.
Cool.
You know, in regards to the comment about, like, the manga versus the anime, I think that's something that just happens with, like, a lot of shows. Like, for example, I still think the Hanako-kun manga looks a gajillion times better than the show, but they made an effort to really keep that aesthetic, and I think the same thing applies in Supergirls.
I would totally agree. Yeah.
Like, aesthetically, the show, in my opinion, was a treat. It's very different. It's got that 2000s flair to it.
All the bright colors. It's so fucking colorful, and, like, the fun, like, funky backgrounds and stuff like that, especially in the opening. Yeah, it's good stuff. I do like that, again, the art style gives it a lot of unique personality. And I mean, you know, it wavers because it's like a 50-episode show, but that wasn't out of the norm, especially for back then. Some of the variances in art style reminded me of watching Tokyo Mew Mew, which was another, like, 50-episode show. And it, you know, changed over time, but you still knew what you were watching.
I also appreciate they changed their clothes a lot. They changed their fingernails, like, every couple episodes. I mentioned that earlier. I really enjoyed watching the characters move. I liked how cartoony things got. I love that none of the women in the show are sexualized.
Yeah.
I like that I at no point was being forced to look up Ron's skirt. And you know what? That's fucking great. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, honestly, really good point there. That's very, very true. Yeah, I do think the art was fun rather than anything that I really have complaints about. And I think it had to grow on me, but I like the opening. I think it's fun and it's catchy. So there's that.
It caught on to me too.
It definitely captures the spirit of the show and the hyper zaniness of it all. Like, it's bright, it's poppy, it's kind of like of that style, right? The character designs, even in the show proper, are kind of just like accentuated, blobby, kind of like wacky and wild, and their arms kind of like wiggle. When they're just it definitely screams of a comedy manga or horror coma of that nature. It's really interesting. And then you hit the ending.
I love the ending.
I love the ending too.
Juxtaposed to the style and the nature of the show, it's quiet, have a lot of silhouettes. There you go. I like the ending. You see, that's one thing. I watch the opening every now and again, but I found myself listening to the ending a lot more just because it is like a good song. So
it is.
Yeah.
It's really good. The lyrics are also really sweet. Reminded me of my high school friends. Like, there was a time when I was first watching it and I got really emotional and I was like, I'm gonna sing this song as a cover and dedicate it to all my high school friends because it nails in those special bonds that you can have as like a teenager with friends, and all the imagery is also cohesive with the lyrics as well, where they're like, you know, moody, and then they're running to, like, see each other. And then there's that beautiful, like, manga-looking final splash panel. So good. Sam.
I was telling Suki about this because I was giving her my rundown as I was watching Super Gals from basically beginning to end.
In real time.
And I was like, you know what? Super Gals reminds me of K-On! And that I looked at the endings and was like, wow, this is really what I want the show to be about.
That's one way of putting it. That's one way of putting it.
Yes!
Like, I felt so much like I almost cried the first time I heard that the ED. Like, I was like, because, like, the lyrics are like, I'm so, like, jealous of how beautiful and wonderful and perfect you are. Yeah. And then towards the end, it's like, well, maybe you're miserable too. And maybe everybody's just looking for somebody. And if I could, I'd just hold you tight because you just mean so much to me. And I'm like, man, this is the best friendship ballad I have ever heard. Yes. Where is my episode of Super Gals where all of them are stuck outside on a rainy fucking day and are having the worst fucking day of their lives?
Can't be done.
And they just go and they hang out and they
done.
eat some ice cream and they just appreciate each other. That's all I fucking wanted.
Did you do you secretly desire to go eat ice cream on a rainy day?
With my besties? Sure. No, can't do that right now because COVID, but
I mean, you could get the ice cream and take it home.
Yeah, but I can't eat it with my friends.
In spirit.
Yeah, outside of like the opening and ending, which I think both were really solid, I don't remember a whole lot of the actual soundtrack except for
the
They did occasionally put the OP or the ED into the show, and I thought that was cute. Like, there was a part where they were playing DDR to the opening.
Yes!
And Ron's ringtone was like, it was either the opening or the ending, one or the other. Like a digitalized version of it. So I did like those fun little touches, and I do like a lot of the sound design. I think that well, this is a part where Craig can talk about the English VAs, I guess, but I thought the Japanese VAs did a really, really good job, especially Ron. Like, she was annoying, but her VA was doing it on purpose. Like, even Tatsukichi loved his VA. Like, all of the Japanese VAs did an amazing job at being loud and annoying and insufferable.
Very true. Very true.
But Craig, let me go ahead and flip this box on over so you can go ahead and stand up. You're already taller than us as it is, but you know what? Whatever. Here you go. Here you go, buddy. Get on up there. Go on.
Where to begin? The dub of Super Gals is also a mixed bag. This is early 2000s. This is the time where they're really obsessed with mouth flaps, and ADR production wasn't necessarily the cleanest, the tightest. Like, they couldn't make you cry with their productions. This has your all-star cast of ADV Films, now Sentai Filmworks crew. You have your Lucy Christians, you have your Chris Pattons, you have your Greg Ayers, and Greg Ayers makes Yuya even better.
Oh no.
Oh, Chris Patton's also the asshole, so that's fitting.
Yeah.
I like Chris Patton.
Yeah, except he's not really
Wouldn't
good.
like him in Gals.
No. Also, Lucy Christian kind of fits a little too well with Ron. I believe I went to a Komori-Con panel where she did a Q&A, and she says she likes Ron, but it's a product of its time, and by that notion, a lot of the scripting is bad. They had to use mouth flaps, and I think they took verbiage and vernaculars that were a little of the time. That is not PC anymore.
Yeah, Craig, didn't they use the R word you told me?
A lot.
Constantly.
Oh, that's awful.
It even slipped into the subs, too, from what Cass has told me. And I'm like...
Yeah, there were a couple of times where the R word slipped into the...
Yeah.
And I'm like...
script.
I'm like, okay, it's always kind of eyebrow-raising to see how the lexicon of terminologies have, like, evolved over the years. So I can't necessarily say that ruined it for me. It just made me kind of be like, oh, I'm taken aback. Also, but outside of your Chris Pattons, your Greg Ayres, your Lucy Christians, the voice actress for Aya, Miyu, and Tatakichi, and Yamato, I can't remember their names, and I don't remember their voices. Miyu's kind of seemed very soft-spoken, and then when she tried to sound tough, it kind of sounded like she was straightening her voice. Cass, you'll like this one. Hilary Hagg, your favorite Sentai Filmworks girl, voices You Betcha, or Dasho.
Yay.
There you go. Making that character even better. Don't watch the dub, guys. You could tell that ADV Films back in the day didn't probably get that much money for this production because they didn't even bother dubbing season 2. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Ratings?
Sure.
I was like, ratings? Final thoughts before ratings? Are we dead?
Sure.
Are we dead?
I think we're running pretty long, and I wanted to do like a teeny tiny spoiler room. So let's go ahead and move on to the ratings. I'm hosting, so I'm gonna say I get to go last.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Eeny, meeny, miny, Craig.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I knew that I would be picked first because I spoke last. As I said at the top of this review, and it's always interesting to have a discussion about a show. We've gone for about, an hour and 20 minutes, some change. I honestly did not anticipate talking as much in this recording as I did. Lo and behold, Cass was right. Bottom line, I didn't watch all the show, so I don't know if I can necessarily give this a fair rating. But on what I
give the first half a rating.
The first half.
Give what you watched a rating.
What I watched.
Yeah.
What I watched. Skip it. I would say, even with Miyu, I don't think the first half holds up. I think the second half has, from what Cass and Kemi have alluded to, have better facets, but also it takes 2 steps back with other characters. So I don't know where the entire product lies, but I still say skip it. I think it's of a time, and I think my sensibilities in comedy aren't necessarily aligned with this. So, I'm sorry, Suki. I'm sorry that I skipped your show. It is not horrendous to a point of burning, but I'm moving on.
Okay. Cammy, you want to go ahead and also give the recommendation?
You got it. Okay, so...
You betcha.
Oh, God. Kage!
You betcha! You betcha!
Oh, God. All right. So, Supergal is actually, has been on my radar for a long time, but I never really watched it at the time that probably would have been most suitable to watch it. Either way, when I first watched it, it was on a whim, and I do think, like Craig and Cassie said, I enjoyed watching it more on a whim. It was something I turned on when I was, like, doing laundry or something, and I just let it go. Don't binge it. That said, while there are things that I definitely like about the show, and overall my reaction was positive the first time through, I wasn't super excited about having to watch all of it again. And here's the reason why. As Cassie so well already said, and we've said throughout this review, there are nuggets of really good things in this show. The problem is you have to trudge through lots of mud to get to them.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of makes the overall experience a little bit exhausting to me. But I do, there are things that I definitely do like about the show that I find refreshing and that I definitely look back on endearing. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a check it show. I think that it's, interesting to give a look to because of it, like the time that it was made, because it's a unique kind of shoujo comedy piece that you don't get to see very often. But also at the same time, if you're like Craig and you're 25 episodes in and it's not your thing, maybe you don't need to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, basically.
So yeah, I think it's okay, and I think it does have good stuff. It's also just a lot to dedicate yourself to. So don't binge it. Give it a check out. Don't feel guilty if you give it up. Because like I said, I don't plan to like rewatch this again anytime soon because it's so long and the things we said. On the contrary, a show that was made in a similar time that is comedy and also zany wacky that I love to go back and revisit is a show called School Rumble, which School Rumble was also based on a manga, came out around the same time, very early 2000s, very wacky, very loud, very zany, lots of love triangles. I think School Rumble honestly handles romance a lot better than Gals.
It does. It does.
Yeah, I love School Rumble. I think that, like in Gals, you'll find eccentric characters that you'll fall in love with. Comedy may be hit or miss, but maybe it'll be good, and I say definitely give it a shot. If you are jazzing for something that's like Gals, go check out School Rumble.
It's to a point where I kind of want to go back and give the first season a retry, because I remember just like, that's also a dub that actually is better produced, Funimation. Lucy Christian, also the main in that one. I recall some comedy gags not working in that one, but on the whole, I again, as what you said, the romance, what they kind of sprinkled in there, actually really works. There's also Girl with a Gun, and I don't remember why she has a gun, but I was really into the Girl with the Gun. Also, Airy Best Girl.
Well, now we know your taste, Craig.
I mean,
beyond that,
I mean, Girl with Gun is great aesthetic.
Yeah, it's good taste. It's good taste. Speaking of good taste,
baby.
Speaking of good taste, I'm curious for Cassie's review.
Fire away. Super Gals is okay.
Yeah.
The like, even with the payoff I got at the end, I can't say that I really liked Super Gals.
Yeah.
I liked parts of Super Gals, which is more than I could say for like Green or Yamibo or Uzamaid.
Or Magical Senpai. Yeah.
Or Magical... I legitimately think that this is the best show that Suki has made me watch. Mm-hmm. And... Or us as a podcast.
Yeah.
And I think she gave it to us for a reason. I think that she literally held out her hands and gave us a time capsule that she buried as 12, 13, 14-year-old Suki. And she dug it back up from her cute little anime tree, and she presented it to us and said, I want to share this piece of my childhood with you. Yeah. And that's special. Mm-hmm. So, that being said, I think that I can see what endeared her to this show. I can see what could endear others to this show. But I think that, one, keeping in mind you shouldn't binge it, and two, who this show is supposed to be for, I would definitely give it a check it. Because I don't think that most people our age are going to take a whole lot from this. Though, I do think that this would be a great gateway anime for if you're trying to get your 14-year-old cousin into anime, or trying to get your 12-year-old daughter into anime, or, I mean, I don't know why you would do that to the poor soul, but like, if you want to start an anime, like Addiction, then this would be a good place to start for teenage girls, and some teenage boys, I feel like. I think that the female empowerment at its core makes this show very unique. I don't really get to see a lot of shows where girls are punching men and other women in the face very often. There's a lot of really good messages and good moments buried in the trash heap of Super Gals. And I think that those treasures are worth finding, but only if you're willing to do so. And that means that you need to check it out first. If you watch the first 10 episodes and you're like, this isn't my bag, just leave.
Yeah.
That's fine. But if you find anything endearing within the first 10 to 12 episodes, if there's anything that really, like, strikes your fancy or you see as something unique that you want to stick with, then I think that Super Gals will reward you for staying on the ride. but whether that ride is worth it to you, mileage will very, very much vary.
Yes.
So yeah, I definitely give it a check it as well. I don't think I'll ever rewatch Super Gals, but I think I'll think about it from time to time.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important. And I think that as much as I bitched and moaned and cried about watching all 50 episodes, I'm happy I did it. I'm happy I finished it. I'm happy that I can actually go up to Suki and be like, I gave this anime that means a lot to you a try. And maybe I didn't love it as much as you hoped I would, but it wasn't bad.
I remember you saying when you were in the 30s of this series, you're like, I feel like they just keep making more episodes and I can never see the ending of this. I can never.
Well, Zach made that joke. I was in a call with Zach because it got to a point where I was just fucking watching episodes of Super Gals in calls so I could maintain my fucking sanity. Just to have somebody else there with me as I suffered through every single episode of Super Gals. And Zach was like, I was like, this feels endless. And Zach was like, that's the secret, Cassie. They're secretly making more episodes as you go.
They keep adding more to the queue. Cass, you gotta keep going. You gotta keep going.
He's like, they're editing and producing episodes of Super Gals as you are watching.
Studio Pierrot.
And therefore, there will never be an end, Cassie. You will never get off this ride.
Cass will now go and read the manga of the Super Gals, and she will forever be a Super Gal. She has changed forever.
But yeah, this was a fun time. I'm happy that you gifted us this time to talk about Super Gals, Suki, as much as I may have bitched about it. I think this was a fun recording and a great way for Annie Chatbox to sign off.
Mm-hmm.
Did you realize?
Absolutely.
Do you realize that it's the three of us in the end?
Oh, Craig, don't do this to my Kokoro right now. I can't.
I'm gonna get emotional.
Do you remember the dumb joke that we came up with towards the beginning of the feed?
I don't want to talk about it.
I do.
We can talk about it off the air. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pop us with some social links, and then we'll do the quickest of spoiler rooms, because I got to go to bed in like 15 minutes.
Same.
So if you want to follow us, as of right now, our Twitter is twitter.com/AnnieChatbox. I'm not sure if we're going to update that to Shoujo Treehouse later, but for now, it'll just be twitter.com/AnnieChatbox. Our email is anniechatmail@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about our structure change, or you just want to give us a fucking email, send it. We'll read it. We'll talk about it on the podcast. It'll be great. If you're listening to us on one thing, you can listen to us on many, many others. We are on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, Spotify, and the tubes of the U. If you want to follow us on Patreon, you can at patreon.com/AnnieChatbox, though currently we are not taking any more donations. But it's there if you want to bookmark it for the future or something. I did want to quickly shout out our patrons who have kept the lights on through all of Annie Chatbox's tenure. And those lovely people are Sarah, CorpsyAnn, Carol, Suki, Paul, TroubleClef, Nocturne, who we have not been shouting out for the past several months. Thank you so much. We love you, appreciate you, and I'm sorry we haven't said your name before now.
I didn't realize.
And John.
Huh.
And John, yes.
And John. If you are going to be so heartbroken at the lack of Craig, you can go listen to more of him at Save Our Progress. They are not taking a 2-month hiatus. So if you really want to listen to Craig's voice, along with Zach, who has also been here many times as well, you can go ahead and check out soundcloud.com/Save Our Progress. It's a great little podcast. They ranked Mountain Dew flavors and made me super salty this past week. So
You no longer have to plug our podcast.
We will.
I'll still plug it.
Let me just say, this episode of Gals is going live the same day that there's going to be an AMN with me, Zach, and Brenda the podcast. We're going to be talking about Fullmetal Alchemist, the Sacred Star of Milos.
Alright.
Anime movie night. Get hype.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us on our very last episode of the Annie Chatbox. Again, we will be popping back up again in July with a little special episode that our friend Zach came up with. And then we will be back in business as Shoujo Treehouse in September and going forward. So again, if you have any questions, hit us up. And we will be making some more announcements as we get closer to that date. So let's go ahead and snuggle into our nice little beanbag chairs in the spoiler room and rant for like maybe 5 minutes.
My spoiler chair is deflated. All the beans fell out. Someone poked a hole in it. I think your cat like tore a hole in it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for you.
Damn it.
Otahata sucks.
Yeah,
I don't understand why he said he had feelings for Ron in the last half. That didn't make any goddamn sense.
Drama.
It's never resolved.
Drama.
Yeah, like Io walks up to Otahata because, I don't know, there was some misunderstanding over her, like, chocolate or something. Like, he made a comment that any normal person wouldn't really care about. And then she's like, you like Ron, don't you? And he's like, yeah, and?
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Where did that come from? You've literally spent the entire fucking anime series doing nothing but say you despise her, or at least don't give a shit. And now you like her? It just seems fucking weird. And then they just resolve it with Ron going, can I just pretend that this didn't happen? And he's like, yeah, sure, do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's, from the beginning of the series, especially with how very, very, very early on they, like, bait the possibility of Ron and Otahata. Like, I'm talking the first, like, 3 episodes. With, like, the weird shoujo moments and stuff. I think it wasn't unexpected to me, but at the same time, it comes right at the end. And so I'm like, why is this, like, right now? Why wasn't this at, like, episode 26? And like you said, they just don't do shit with it. Like, it's just, I feel like they just really wanted more of the will they won't they melodrama between Aya and Otahata, and so they're like, all right, well, let's make it happen with adding Ron in here. I also specifically hate that development because I want Aya to be strong enough in the end that she wouldn't fall for, like, oh shit, now I have to be tense with Ron because she's, like, the object of my man's affections. I just didn't like it at all.
I don't like it. It was icky. It was not good.
And it wasn't resolved well, from what I'm gathering.
No!
It just had no point. Like, yeah, it just didn't. It was like they didn't know how to end the show. So they're like,
I'm not even sure if Aya and Otahata are dating. Because they say throughout the show, like, oh, they're dating. And I'm like, are they, though? Like,
yeah.
Like, they never really confirm that. They don't go on dates. I mean, like, she tries to follow him around, and then in one episode, he's like, bitch, stop following me around.
Yeah.
Like, he just treats her like fucking trash, and I don't like it.
No,
I just want her to find somebody else.
Yeah.
Or just hang out with her girl pals some more. You don't need a man, honey. Like,
yeah. I mean, it makes her resolve all the more weaker because it has to come through the filter of this fucking asshole guy.
Yeah, he sucks. He sucks ass.
He sucks. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't develop. Like, it's just dumb. I agree. I don't like that final bit at all. I've seen some snippets of the manga, and, like, yes, they do end up becoming slightly more of a couple. He almost kisses her at one point when she was upset, and he's like, sorry, I'm shit at communication, but maybe this will make up for it. And then fucking one of the little siblings comes and interrupts it. I don't know, just fucking why invest yourself? Why invest yourself in this couple? It's just awful. I don't like it.
Nah.
Yeah, that's it.
Honestly, that's all I really had. I just wanted to bitch about Otahata for a couple of minutes. I just don't like him.
I'm happy Miu and Yamato finally kissed. That was something.
Yeah. And I so expected, like, they got, like, 2 kisses by the end, and neither were fucking interrupted.
Yeah.
Which was nice. Like, there were a few kisses that were interrupted, and I was annoyed, but when they actually get to the part where Miu has closure, that's when she gets her first kiss with Yamato, and I'm like, that's good. That's good writing right there.
Yeah, like, that was cute. So that's one of the other few things that I remember being like, yeah, okay, this was good, and it was kind of plot substantial, air quotes. But yeah.
Like, when her mom walks out on her, too, that was fucking heartbreaking.
That's the part I cried at, because it made me think of one of my best friends that you know that has a very strenuous relationship with their mother, and it hit me real hard.
Yeah, it just hurt to see her.
Yeah.
So, like, and to have her one thing, her one solace, her one thing that gave her stability just being ripped out of her hands, even though she worked so fucking hard to keep it. Like, that was devastating.
Miyu, it's interesting because, again, during the review proper, I talked about Miyu and Yamato and Uotani and Kurino, and I'm like, man, Uotani and Miyu have a lot in common. They both
That's a good point.
They both had like gang tragic backstories. Their parents are kind of like shit. If I recall correctly, I think Uotani has her father, which is a drunk, and I don't think Uotani's mom's in the picture either. But in Miyu's case, I don't think anyone's in the picture at towards the tail end of that show. By the end?
Yeah, nope. And I mean, again, when I talked about things that are like urban and complex problems, like you don't always see a high school anime where a high school girl is having to worry about homelessness, you know? Like,
no.
That's intense, heavy stuff. And it is real in a lot of places. And I liked that the show touched upon issues like that. So, yeah. But I think that's about it.
All right, let's get out of here. I gotta go sleep. Bye. But yeah, thanks guys once again for tuning in to our final episode of the Annie Chat Box, and we will be back soon with some more goodies, hopefully some more announcements. Stay tuned in July. We love you.
Thank you so much, everyone. We love you a whole lot. And if Cassie doesn't say Oyasumi, it's not a proper send-off. So.
Oyasumi!
Last time I get to hear that.
Perfect.